Clerk, why don't you call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Price,
Here.
Councilmember Yaroslavsky,
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilmember Krikorian, and Councilmember Blumenfield.
I understand they'll be with us shortly. Okay, Mr. Clerk, what our items are before us at this time?
We have three items here. Take them in any order at your preference.
Okay, maybe we should take some public comment first.
Very good. Public comment is 1 minute per item for a maximum of 2 minutes, plus 1 minute for general public comment. Sign up for it. There's a kiosk in the corner there electronically. Sergeant Arms can assist you if necessary.
And if I may, this is a special meeting, so typically there is no general public comment, so it will have to be 2 minutes directed to the items on the agenda.
Okay. Let's have Lisa Baca, Garcia A., Mario Valenzuela, Jason Richardson, and Pepina Pig.
Good morning, council members. My name is Lisa Bach. I'm with the Los Angeles Equestrian Coalition. I'm here today to advocate for CD7. The Olympic event that is possible in CD7 is equestrian, and we are hoping that, if not all, some of the equestrian events would be housed in Hanson Dam. For example, the dressage courts could be built and the existing arenas could be converted, and they could become state-of-the-art para-Olympic dressage courts that the community could use afterwards. We would also like to make a pitch for the investment, for community investment, for bringing back the Griffith Park Pony Rides 2.0 experience, which is a brand new model being circulated, not just at Griffith Park, but also at the city-owned LA Equestrian Center and also at Hanson Dam. So youth from all over the world that comes can have an interactive, multilingual educational experience on the care, the kind of ponies, feed, and an ethical treatment of human pony interaction. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Good morning, council members. My name is Mario Valenzuela, and I'm representing the YMCA of Metropolitan Los Angeles. We've been around for 140 years. We serve about 500,000 folks annually. We have 26 branches across LA County, and we serve about 40,000 youth annually. And I say that because we see the impact that sports has every single day, right? We know that when youth are engaged in sports, they're going to be better off academically. They're going to lead a healthier lifestyle. They're going to develop important life skills. And I can't think of a bigger and better stage to host the Olympics than Los Angeles. We're the entertainment capital of the world, one of the most diverse cities in the world. So for us, it's a huge honor to partner with LA28 because we don't have to wait to the 28 Olympics to inspire thousands and millions of youth really across the globe. We're already doing that here locally. This past March, we brought 2,000 middle school age girls from 36 Title I schools, and they had the opportunity to train with Olympians, to learn about different career pathways. And just this past week, we hosted 6,000 families at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. We're bringing people together, so I really want to thank LA28 for their commitment to our communities, and we look forward to partnering with them. I also want to thank them for their inclusive approach. They're donating sports bras, gym bags, really eliminating barriers for our youth to participate in sports. So I'm here today to advocate for them, and I'm looking forward to the 28 Olympics. Thank you.
All right, thanks for your involvement and your enthusiasm. We appreciate it.
All right, can y'all hear me? All right, Councilman, first off, let me introduce myself. My name is Jason Richardson. I'm the athlete manager at LA28. And piggybacking off of the gentleman's amazing comments, I just wanted to emphasize the transformational power of sport and actually be one of the people that can express kind of how it plays out. So sport has changed my life both academically and professionally. So I have a undergraduate degree in sport industry management, as well as a master's as well, with a focus on global sports. So I can definitely say that the Olympics itself, as well as the Paralympics, has the ability to really change lives, both at the youth level and at the adult level. More specifically for Play LA, it has been incredible on our community relations departments to really get into the community and see with our own eyes how the youth are actually impacted. For me, sport allowed access to college, and college in a financial sense was definitely lowered as far as the barrier of entry, excuse me. And it has allowed me plenty of opportunities to both provide a community outreach efforts as well as professional enrichment by actually going and seeing the business of sports. There's no other activity in the world that can touch all lives across all cultures like sports. And so LA 28 is definitely deciding to really provide legacy projects that lean into the community and provide amazing outreach. And it would be incredible if LA supported it in all its efforts, and more specifically within the community in Play LA. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up. Yeah, Garcia and Pig, last two. Okay.
So how much fucking
Go after
time do
him.
we get here? I see only 1 minute. Don't you get?
Are you signing up for 2 items, Mr. Spindler?
What are you doing?
Yes, I'm signing up for all the fucking items
Go
in
ahead, you have
general
2
fucking
minutes.
public
Begin
comment.
now.
Yes. So looking at number 3, the budget for the games is a financial loss. Just like PDQ printing was in the bankruptcy courts. A big fat fucking loss to the city. How much money are we going to lose on these fucking games? What is the real loss going to be? So that we can get ready to sell assets to cover the bonds at 7% per annum that we're going to be paying for these fucking useless games. Number 2, Yaroslavsky sponsoring motions on these games? You don't have to do that. And she's wearing pink, the pink color. Yes, you do not want to be involved in a criminal conspiracy involving the games. The games are nothing but a loss. Look what happened to Greece. It went bankrupt. Look what happened to the other fucking country.
Oh, that would be Brazil.
Look at the disaster there. The only games that ever made money were the 1984 games. They were hosted by Peter Uberoth here in Los Angeles. And they had mayor that made scenes. And there were no FBI investigations of any council members. That's why it made money. But now with this fucking council and these fucking people, they're going to lose hundreds of millions. That's why this is being held at 8:30 in the morning without a call-in option. The FBI calls it, what was it called, Mr. Price, when you went to law school? Overt acts, yes, that's right. That's what you're engaged in when you block the public from coming here. Except the lobbyists who are here to feed, like the pigs on the trough. Yes.
Thanks, Mr. Spindler. Time's expired.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Anyone else like to speak this morning? Come on. All right, then you, and then, okay. Well, good. Glad you're here.
Okay, begin, Mr. Herman.
When you're late, I didn't put my name on the card. I put a dirty nigger, HHH.
So, do
Don't
you
call
wanna
me
speak-
by my name and get me into trouble.
Do you want to speak to the items or not, Mr.
Yes,
Herman?
sir.
Then begin right now.
Yeah. Overacts. Fucking Paralympic Games and your fucking impact statement and your fucking financial policies and your bitch debit impact statement and your screwed up community impacts. We already know these Olympics are going to put themselves in a shithole city like LA because you don't take care of business with all this homeless crisis and this fucking urgency to get these homeless niggers off the street. So don't tell me that it's going to be a great Olympics. It's going to be the fiasco of bullshit. And poor Katie has to tell her dad all this shit when she goes home about the Olympics. Then on motion number 2, regarding Mr. Price, fucking development of the games, why don't you fucking build housing and get these fucking people off the street so the Olympics, the component required, looks like the actual good games, instead of like putting this facade or this fake pretense that we're all fucking good, you dirty nigger. Let me help you save America. Never in the history will I have to fight an inch from now on, but to get an inch just to enjoy the fucking Olympics. Brandenburg versus Ohio, 395 U.S., 444, 1969 for the record. You're all going to hell, fucking faggots, don't you get it? Simplify fags, don't you fucking get it? Yeah, simplify faggots, because on the last item, CAO reports that Herman said for the benchmarks, simplify fucking faggots. Snyder versus Phelps. And if you don't dig it, learn it. Book of Romans, Book of Corinthians talks about homosexuality, and God hates it. God hates you. You fucking faggots, for the record. How do you like it, me now?
Okay, your time's expired.
Here's my documents for the record.
Hey, ma'am, next speaker, please.
Good morning, council members. My name is Michelle Kinman, and I'm a senior vice president at the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator. And we are so pleased to be working in partnership with the city and a whole host of other public and private sector partners to make the most of this opportunity to ensure that by the time we welcome the world to LA for the Olympic and Paralympic Games, that we can move people and goods without creating emissions, and that we're powering our lives with clean energy. And as regards to item number 3 on today's agenda, we're so proud to be a member of the Sustainability Working Group and are enjoying and looking forward to providing our insights to the working group as it moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your involvement and participation. Any other speakers at this time? Okay, seeing none, we're going to close public comment. Members, I'm going to suggest that we take item 2 on consent. This is a motion requesting the Department of Water and Power, with the assistance of CLA and CAO, to report in 90 days on the development of a Games Energy Council in order to ensure energy infrastructure reliability, delivery, service, and the attainment of sustainability objectives for the Games. It was a motion by Member Park, myself, and Yaroslawski. And if no objection, we'll send that on consent. Okay, that will be the order. What's next for us, Mr. Clerk?
Excuse me?
Pardon?
Number 1.
Number 1.
Item number 1, Joint City Administrative Officer, Chief Legislative Analyst, Board of Recreation Parks, and Department of Recreation Parks reports relative to fiscal year 2023-24 project plan with the LA 28 Organizing Committee for the 2028 Olympic Paralympic Games.
All right, exciting project, exciting part of our Olympics preparation, making sure our kids are involved and engaged. The floor is yours, sir.
Good morning, council members. Jimmy Kim, General Manager for the Department of Recreation and Parks. It's nice to see some of you in person in a very long time, and nice to see you, Councilmember Yaroslavsky, for the first time, and looking forward to coming before you many other times in the future. I am very excited to present the Play LA project plan for the 23-24 season. Just by way of background, Play LA is the city's youth and adaptive youth sports program. It is made possible by LA 28, the Department of Recreation and Parks, and the City of Los Angeles. Back in 2018, the city went into agreement with the IOC to provide $160 million to youth sports within the City of Los Angeles. And as part of that agreement with LA 28, the department creates a project plan that outlines our grant request to cover the sports, clinics, aquatics, classes, and adaptive program offered to youth sports across the city at low to no cost. The project plan before you requests $18,465,802 to cover costs associated with Play LA programming at neighborhood recreation centers across the city. With this funding, we're projecting to reach 162,084 enrollments, And I'd like to share a few highlights from this year's project plan. So there's a request for about 11.4 million for recreational leagues, clinics, and classes offered at Recreation Center. With each new plan, new sports are introduced to give LA youth an opportunity to learn and try sports not traditionally offered. And we are very excited to announce that we'll be introducing 5 new sports for the 23-24 season. These include archery, karate, climbing, triathlon, and fencing. We will continue growing our aquatics program during 23-24 as well, and included in the request is a little over 1.8 million to offer swim team, synchronized swimming, diving, water polo, and free swim lessons across all of our swimming pools. Some of our 22-23 signature programs that are continuing in this next fiscal year include our Learn to Surf program, which is very successful, kayaking, track and field, judo, tennis, golf, equestrian, skateboarding, and marathon training. We are also requesting a little over $841,000 to continue to grow and support our adaptive youth sports program. The adaptive programming officially launched during the 22-23 season, and the team leading that effort has had successful runs so far, offering adaptive skateboarding, para-equestrian, sitting tennis, blind soccer clinics, and additional sports. The Play LA program is a gift for the youth in our city, and the entire RAP team takes great care in building a quality program that is accessible, equitable, and most importantly, fun. In closing, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present this plan and all of our partners, especially our friends at LA 28. This program takes our entire department and beyond and everything that we do for the kids of LA. This concludes my report, and with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, so you're seeking, what is it, 17 million?
Councilmember, it is $18,465,802.
To be exact.
Yes.
Thank you. Talk a little bit about the funds allocated last year. Just curious, 22, 23. Have all those funds been spent? If not, why not? Where are they now, and how does that work?
So currently, our the 22-23 request was for $17,533,441. We are currently on track. We'll be just below the spending of all of those funds, and part of the issue with that is is staffing, is the pace in which we can hire staff to provide the program. Even with that issue, we have not faltered in terms of our goals for meeting our enrollment numbers, but our issue with the lowered number in terms of reaching the 17 million has to do with staffing, as well as the process in which we purchase equipment. So a lot of the monies don't calculate in because it has to go through a PO process and go through the city process to be identified in the system.
Well, we know staffing is a problem throughout the city and country, looks like. But what are we doing to enhance recruitment or to identify staff?
So we have been working with
assist.
council offices to put out a hiring fairs. Most recently, we've done a hire fair in CD10 with Public Works. So we're working with other city departments and council offices to recruit youth from our community. So that's one strategy. Another strategy with this project plan is we requested a slight increase in the hourly rates for part-time staff to come and become instructors. So we hope that increase in entry-level salary will entice youth to come. The challenge that we face department-wide in terms of hiring part-time staff is that we're in a competitive market now in terms of hourly rates. In the past, we were 10 to 18% above a part-time entry salary. Now, some of these places that we're competing against, they actually make more money in these locations.
How
So
much are we offering?
For entry-level positions, it's about $19. And the general entry-level position that's out in the market right now is somewhere around $20, $21. So we're trying to be as competitive possible. So we're hoping by increasing the salary rates within this project plan, we'll be able to entice that. So our next step is, once this gets approved, is going through the personnel process to increase those salary rates.
And so how many youth took advantage of the programs last year? How
Excuse
many
me?
youth took advantage of the programs last year? Yeah.
We had a total of 145,991 enrollments in this current project plan, and we're expecting that to grow because the project plan will be over in July. So right now we are at 112% over our projected numbers.
And how is the department working with other nonprofits, community-based nonprofits, to use facilities, subsidize fees, et cetera? How has that partnership been developing?
So we work closely with one of the strategies we've taken is partnering with our national governing boards for sports, to be able to work with them that has very close community ties to provide programming. In terms of our signature program, we work with the communities that offer these sports to be able to leverage their expertise in bringing them in and helping us provide these programs for the youth.
Well, I think we're really missing a point, not engaging community-based organizations more for their kids that want to participate, also for instructors that might be available too, and also church-based, faith-based institutions, I think, could really be a good source.
Councilmember, I have Edna Delgado, our senior project coordinator that oversees the program, and she can speak a little bit on kind of our outreach strategy and how we work with our community-based organizations.
Hi, good morning, council members. Edna Degollado, Senior Project Coordinator for the Play LA program. As our general manager just mentioned, our partnerships are growing with our community-based nonprofits. They are a way that we are able to increase our enrollments. And again, I'd just like to point out that the current numbers that we have, we are over. So during the 2022-2023 season, we had projected to have about 145,000 enrollments. And currently, as of yesterday, we are about 163,000 enrollments, and so our enrollments are on track. I also just wanted to point out that the current projections for the enrollments for 23-24 season are at 162,000, and we hope that we will continue to be on track to exceed the projected enrollments. But again, council member, I think our partnerships are increasing with our community-based nonprofits. We will definitely take your recommendation to reach out to faith-based organizations as well as other community partners in the city of Los Angeles.
Great. Members. Councilwoman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you both very much. Very excited to see these enrollment numbers, and I think obviously it's positive. We've had separate conversations, though, with respect and in alignment with, for example, the work of the Youth Development Department, because while enrollments are great, I'm interested in also knowing what is the sustained participation of those that enroll so that we can ensure maximum reach in our communities. Because so often, I'd also like to understand and ascertain, from what neighborhoods are they participating so that we can have actual evaluation of the efficacy and representation throughout the city, that we're assuring that we have a full reach. And I thank you, Mr. Price, for asking the question about some of the other nonprofit organizations. I made the observation as I was looking at the announcement with respect to the community partners associated with the 28 games, and I have to be honest, it doesn't, for me, fully represent the diversity, particularly in the San Fernando Valley. There's a very large concentration of civic organizations from the metro South Los Angeles region, and and I'm going to have to just keep beating this drum. But the San Fernando Valley is not really well represented, and it does represent nearly half of the city's population. I'm excited to see the investments in the growth in the work, recognizing the assets that we can leverage with Hanson Dam Equestrian Center, with all of the aquatics opportunities that we have in my district, and we're building on that. I know we talked about, expanding pony rides into Hanson Dam and doing all of these things because our community does have all of these assets. But I will continue to remain a strong and forceful voice to have everyone understand that the civic organizations that we're talking about right here are not really reflective of the diversity of the San Fernando Valley either. And that's really an oversight that I hope gets corrected. And it's not directed at you, but it's just a message that I'm conveying about the populations that are being missed and the civic organizations and advocates in the San Fernando Valley that are not included in this conversation. I think it's really important that the diversity is truly reflective of the demographics of the city, because that's not yet reflected as I look at this particular announcement. But I do want to understand, and I also want to thank, and I know, we worked previously very closely on the inclusion of SRLA, which for me helps us achieve the sustained engagement for youth across this city, represents the very same lower socioeconomic demographics of community members that we want to reach, of young people in this city, that train them for these very important roles, because we have to look at our community partners to help us fulfill all of these opportunities and these reaches. So I want to thank you. I want to thank the department and everyone that's been involved in working in that. I do have a question about the monies that were allocated during COVID. I know we were unable to programmatically expend any resources with respect to, because we were in shutdown. So what happens to those monies? Are they availed for us to look for an additional programming year? Is it something that we could then augment some of our budgets to assure that we spend it down, since we did make this commitment to the youth of our city to fulfill this? Very long and several questions. Number one, how do you measure, again, the registrations and participations, not just the initial registrations, but the sustained participation, the demographic and kind of geographic distribution of those that are participating, but then also finally, what are, what are we doing with the monies that were not utilized during COVID?
Thank you, Councilmember. To answer your first question in terms of how are we tracking kind of our enrollments and our participation, it's a very timely question. Within the last couple of months, I've tasked staff with plotting out where all of our enrollments are on GIS, so that we could see where youth are coming from, literally to the details of their address and their apartments. And so we're going to use that data, and so your question in terms of how we track them and where they go, that's a new part of that equation. So we have the data of where they are and what programs they are involved in. We do not yet have a process to track youth and see what the percentages of where these youth are, but I am a firm believer, because I am a product of that, to come in, to be able to see how we could take youth and really track where they go, and even into city employment and that entire process for the entire life cycle, right? Because I think the best way to recruit employees and staff is through youth that participate in our programs. So that is the next step, and hopefully at the next time we're in front of this board, I should be able to give you that data, because that, we have the data. It's just a matter of creating the platform to be able to track and really aggregate that data. So that's the first part of your question. The second part of the question is about the budget and the unexpended funds that we had during the COVID years. So, and that is also a timely question, because I've been talking to my partners at LA28 on how we can expend that money, and if there's a mechanism for us to do so. And I'm happy to say that there is. And so what we're doing is that as we get into our new project plans, we'll be our goal is to spend more and bring in more programs, more signature programs. As I stated earlier in our presentation, we're able to present new sports, like try out new sports as our signature programs. And so that's kind of our goal. And we're thinking big. I mean, last year was surfing. I mean, that was really outside the box. Equestrian is also outside the box. So we're looking outside the box to bring in and try new sports to see what people want, right? Number one. And then, and if we find out there's not participation, then we'll do that for 2 years and then rotate in another program. So there is an opportunity for us to expend the funding that we get for this program. So I'm happy to be able to report.
And then also on the sustained participation, if you can answer that question, how do you track? It's one thing to have someone register, right? It's another thing to ensure their continued participation in the program, not a one and done. So, do you have a method? And I know, like I said, we're working on developing that through the Youth Development Department. But my question is, do you have some mechanism to actually track sustained participation in these programs?
Absolutely. Excuse me. When a participant registers, we track their entire history. So we know what classes they take, where they take it. And so we have the data. It's just a matter of how do you present it. So that's kind of the next goal for us is we have the data. How do we create a dashboard that's easily read to say this is kind of what's happening with our youth and how they participate in our programs.
Awesome, thank you. I just, again, for me, and having, watched what my community endured, watching very few activations in the San Fernando Valley programmatically with the Olympics, actually not few, zero. For me, it's increasingly more important. I remember being a kid in 1984 in the San Fernando Valley and only hearing the stories because my dad was stationed right across the street from USC, from Olympic Village, telling me the stories about the Olympics because for the kids in the San Fernando Valley, it's not accessible. And when you look at the subsequent investments that occurred in facilities in the aftermath of the Olympic Games in '84, nothing in the San Fernando Valley. And so I will remain, to be clear for everyone listening, a staunch advocate to assure that the Valley gets its share, that we continue to examine opportunities for us to grow those investments because disproportionately we have been underinvested. When we have conversations about equity, it hasn't fully reflected the lack of investments in the San Fernando Valley. And when I look at the impacts of COVID and the kids in the neighborhoods that, many of the neighborhoods that I represent and are adjacent to my district, I want to ensure that we're doing everything possible to maximize that participation and access.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And I certainly share your concerns that we make sure that our programs are really penetrating all parts of the city, and youth from all over should know of the opportunities and benefits. And sometimes, and folks don't know. I mean, so it's important to expose our youth to programs that they might not come in contact with normally, archery or surfing.
Come ride horses in my district.
Well, we have resources. We just need to make sure that our kids are aware. And so I think the councilwoman's comments are certainly very timely.
Mr. Chair.
And then also, I think it's important that we engage the youth department, our new youth department, and certainly use them as a way of outreach. Mr. CLA.
Yes, John Wickham with the CLA. I just wanted to point out that in the joint CAO-CLA report, we have a recommendation that the department submit on an annual basis their annual plan evaluating the progress in the youth sports program. They have done so for the current annual plan, and going forward, that will be an opportunity for you to evaluate exactly the questions that Ms. Rodriguez has been asking, and to the extent that there are other factors that you would want the department to evaluate and report on, that would be a vehicle to submit that information for your consideration.
Well, this information is so important for us, especially now. I'd like to see us kind of reviewing it every 6 months, not every year, not once a year, but twice a year, so that we can just work with you to make sure that occurs.
It's too late for us to course correct it. We wait a year.
Yeah, well, we got a new year coming up.
We'll be
Ms.
happy
Kim.
to do that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Councilwoman?
Thank you,
Yaroslavsky.
Committee Chair. Thank you for this presentation. It's very exciting. I noticed that none of the rec centers in my district are on the list, which makes sense given the way that is drawn. I have 2 rec centers that are surrounded by really economically diverse communities. You've got Palms and Robertson. And just north of the Palms Rec Center, you've got a very wealthy part of my district. And to the south, you have a majority renter, majority Latino, majority lower income part. And so I'm wondering if there might be an opportunity for, in these 2 cases, to look a little more, drill down a little bit more in terms of the median income demographics that are the baseline by which you determine whether or not a rec center is eligible. So that I just don't want to, I want to make sure we're not missing kids who, if they lived in other parts of the city and have the exact same income, and would otherwise be precluded from being able to participate in youth sports, might have an opportunity at these rec centers to play. And I don't want us putting families in an uncomfortable position about demonstrating income, but I see a deficit there where I just walk, I was at the Palms Rec Center recently, and majority renter, majority lower income, majority Latino, and they're not going to benefit from this program at all based on the way we're defining applicability.
Just to clarify, in the way this program works, we pre-qualify all of the sites where the income level is below 70,000. And so those pre-qualified sites, there's no requirement to show any proof of income. All of our other locations, so all of our rec centers participate in this program. And the way they participate is by self-certifying, quite simply, that they receive an LAUSD lunch. They're part of that program. We understand the challenges and when we were thinking this through, we wanted to be very, very thoughtful in terms of what type of income verification that we needed. So any member of the public at even the sites that are not pre-qualified can go in, ask for a LA28 waiver, and be able to pay the reduced price of $10 at any one of our locations. The only difference is that the 81 pre-qualified sites, we don't have to do that just because of the medium income in the neighborhood that qualifies.
So that's wonderful to hear. Apologies for my confusion. I would love to work with you all on some communications that my office can put out and work with the rec center so that people know about the program.
We would love to do that.
Great. Thank you very much.
And I think it's a good idea to outreach to all council offices so they can get word out to their constituents about the program, the availability, how it's rolling out, in addition to working with community-based nonprofits, faith-based organizations to make sure. Any other comments?
If I could just mention that, we've been working very closely with our partners at LA28 in terms of how we're marketing our product to get the information out. So including working with the council offices as well, I think is just going to elevate how we get into the public. So thank you.
Who are the U.S. Center for Safe Sports? Who are they?
I'll ask Edna Delgado to comment.
Hi, good morning. Edna Degollado, Senior Project Coordinator with Play LA. So through our agreement with LA28 in regards to the funding that we're receiving for this program, one of the parts of the agreement was that we would work with the U.S. Center for Safe Sport to strengthen the way that the department promotes child safety, as well as strengthening our child abuse response protocols and reporting protocols. And so we've been partnering with them over the last year to do a discovery phase, which just concluded this past summer. And now we are developing a robust training program in order to really make sure that all of our full-time, part-time coaches, volunteers, and everyone really that represents the department is not only equipped with the proper resources to be able to report and address any instances of alleged child abuse or suspected child abuse, but also to promote healthier and safer environments at our facilities. So that's the partnership with the U.S. Center for Safe Sport.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members, any other comments? Last comments? I'm going to move that we approve the recommendations in the CLA-CAO report, as well as the RAP board report, and note and file the RAP department report as it is for informational purposes only. But we look forward to seeing you in 6 months, not a year, to give us an update on where we are.
So, Mr. Chair, would you like to amend the CLA-CAO report recommendation on the reporting so that it will be a semi-annual report rather than an annual report?
Yes, that's the request, that we will make the the report.
Excellent.
Right. All right.
We're all clear.
Thanks for covering that base for us. Thanks for your work. Thanks for your help, and continued success. Good. All right, Mr. Clerk, what's next before us?
Before we go on, shall we call the roll for approval for item number?
Yes, please.
Councilmember Price,
Aye.
Councilmember Yaroslav.
Yes.
And Councilmember Rodriguez.
Aye.
Very good. We go on to item 3 is CAO and joint CAO-CLA reports relative to benchmarks and commitments for working groups and other priorities identified in the Games Agreement for LA 28.
All right, come on down.
Hard act to follow.
Well, this is a very important act also, involvement, engagement, something we're all committed to. These working groups are a way of making that happen, so let us know where we are as we are joined by the Council President, Paul Krikorian.
My name is Robert Roth with the Office of the CIO. I'm joined by Alex Whitehead from the CLA's office. We're here to present 2 reports that are updates on the implementation of working groups, which are provided for and identified within the Games Agreement. As a brief history, very brief history, so we're all somewhat at the same place. Back in December of 2021, Council approved the Games Agreement. Within that, there were numerous obligations, commitments, processes that were developed, including the establishment of working groups, particularly for policies. These 3 working groups include the Sustainability Working Group, the Community Business and Procurement Working Group, as well as the Local Hire Working Group. Council instructed the CIO and CLA to present a report which established benchmarks so that we could track the establishment rather than just more of a vague, long-term deadline of establishing working groups that was in the Games Agreement. So we've created a list of, apologize, I want to include LA 28 in this conversation. The CIO and CLA worked closely with LA 28 to establish these benchmarks, and we presented those to Council for consideration and approval. At that time, we were instructed to report back semi-annually, similar to what you've just done earlier, semi-annually with updates. And so before you now are the 2 updates, the first 2 really, to provide information about where we're at and what we're looking at in the future. So if I go to, as I mentioned, I think it was mentioned as well, there's 2 reports. On June 30th, there was a report submitted by LA 28 with a report from CIO and just from the CIO at that time, although we worked together with the CLA. Within that report, it identified LA 28's plan for implementing these working groups. It included engagement phases, 1 through 4. So the first one was outreach and information sharing, followed by selection, launching of working groups, and then ultimately beginning work, which happens in March of 2023, which just happened, and my colleague will have more information on that. The activities that were reported on that June 30th report included hosting a series of virtual information sessions, conducting surveys for potential stakeholders. LA 28 invited organizations to participate in numerous groups for informational purposes, and receiving recommendations from the city, which included council recommendations, as well as throughout city departments, we requested stakeholder recommendations, which were provided to LA 28. Subsequently, a report was submitted by LA 28 in October of 2022, which my colleague here can provide more information about.
Hello, council members. I'm Alex Whitehead with the Office of the CLA. On October 18th, 2022, LA submitted their second report providing a status update on this item. The CAO and CLA then jointly reported on this item as before committee today. LA 28 indicates it completed the following activities since their last report in June. Hosted 6 additional virtual information sessions for a total of 9, providing an update on the game's delivery process and voluntary advisory working groups. Spread awareness about working group opportunities as organizations assess their potential participation. Hosted 3 additional virtual information sessions specifically for the Los Angeles Regional Consortium, Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, and its affiliate members per their request. Then received recommendations of organizations from your offices and invited these organizations to July and August 2022 informational sessions. Finally, they sent out invitations to apply for working groups to all recommended organizations, identified the organizations that will comprise the membership of each working group, inviting 30 organizations to join. So we're now into phase 4. We've launched the working groups. They've all had their first meetings. So next steps, LA 28 was to confirm the dates for the first meeting of each group by January 31st and conduct the first meeting by March 31st, 2023. The CAO and CLA, in coordination with the Office of Mayor and LA 28, will continue to monitor implementation of the working groups, with LA 28 providing their next status report on April 30th, 2023, or by April 30th, 2023. So that concludes my report.
So how frequently do the groups meet then? What's the schedule, the meeting schedule of the working groups?
Specific level?
Well, I'd like to actually bring up LA 28 to respond to those questions. As these meetings are administered by LA 28, they would have more information on that.
And we've been joined by Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Good morning, Council. Nice to see everybody in person. My name is Patricia Feo. I'm VP of Host City Relations for the City of Los Angeles and LA 28. To answer your question, we meet quarterly. So we had our first set of meetings on March 21st, the 23rd, and the 30th. Our next set of meetings will be set by the end of June. So we have sent out requests to all of the organizations that are sitting on our working groups to decide what, where people are more available. So by the end of June, we will have our meeting set. So we will meet with all of the organizations quarterly for our working groups.
And is it too late for other stakeholders to become part of this process?
Absolutely not. So we are still receiving information from council members about we've had several meetings with certain council members, actually pretty much all of you, and have asked if you have any, especially the new council members, if you have any ideas about organizations in your districts that might want to be part of the working groups. And we are taking those into consideration as well.
Okay, great. Members, any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Price. Thank you, Ms. Feo. And I made reference to it a bit earlier, is being in the San Fernando Valley, and I've not been shy about sharing this with many members of LA 28 in the past, ensuring that there's a reach into the San Fernando Valley, particularly as when we look at our nonprofit infrastructure. The Northeast in particular, we're very shy of a number of resources, and when I consider the diversity of this city and what I'm looking at in terms of the composition of some of this working group, it's a struggle for me to recognize and see the participation, and particularly for those representing the San Fernando Valley, not really reflective of the diversity of the San Fernando Valley. But I also see disproportionately representation far more concentrated in the metro region. So, and when I look at some of those that are involved in advising on the local hire component, for example, what is notably absent for me are some of the very same organizations that are heavily involved in our work source efforts, that are entrenched and engrossed in the work in the San Fernando Valley. So, because I see some of these organizations, and they're not known quantities to me as being engaged in these issues. So while I see their names on here, I don't see the connectedness to this conversation. And so could you help me understand, was the selection of some of these groups derived based on, well, they were interested and so they kind of met the criteria, or was there a vetting process to assure that, they're kind of really, credible spokespeople to be advising in this space, because as I see certain organizations that are listed here, it's not quite equitably distributed.
Understood. Yes. So we do, I see what you're saying. We do have VICA, which is one of the bigger organizations that's usually on all of these types of organized working groups. We also have the Valley Economic Alliance, and I do understand what you're asking. What we did with the vetting process is we invited everybody, as mentioned earlier, to our information sessions, and then we invited them to apply. A lot of these organizations that are smaller, they have, they don't have as much manpower, and I think that, that's where they kind of fell off. But we are happy to reach out to them again and see if there's any interest. There might need a little bit more probing to be more welcoming about how we went through the process. The process was fairly simple. We did make it simple enough that we wouldn't scare away these smaller nonprofit organizations, knowing that usually those are the folks who don't get represented. So happy to take those names again, and we were happy to reach out to them again and give them a little bit more probing.
And I really appreciate that, because as you know, it's, again, the capacity issue underscores exactly what the problem is that you don't have representation, because the very small, nimble organizations that are actually entrenched in doing the work and advocating for the community are not engaged in these bigger kind of, large-scale conversations. And so you do have a VICA or an economic alliance, but it's not really reflective of the diversity on the ground, and assuring that connectivity, right? But subsequently, when you also see certain organizations that it's like, who's actually in the community doing the work, doing the advocacy, has the connectivity to the people that are not historically connected, and then, frankly, when I look at some of the civic organizations, that are on the metro side of the city, they're not reflective of the diversity of Los Angeles, in my opinion. It's disproportionately skewed. So I just want to make sure that when we have conversations that we're assuring full participation of every organization that represents the interest and the diversity of Los Angeles. And so I look forward to continuing to work with you all to ensure that we have that representation, that in the San Fernando Valley in particular, that we do have a stronger voice there as well that is reflective of the diversity of our city. So thank you.
John Wickham with the CLA. I think, Councilwoman, you've actually highlighted one of the obligations of the working groups is that part of their program will be to identify ways that they can engage these smaller groups. So it may not be that everybody can be on the working group itself, but the working group should have plans to ensure that they're talking to and including and engaging these groups in the work that they're doing, because those groups will be doing the actual work on the ground.
Mm-hmm. And, it's important to note, too, this is the beginning of the process. So folks still have a chance to weigh in. I mean, 28 is, several years out, but now is the planning time. And so individuals, organizations that want to be engaged and involved, now is the time. Do you have another comment? Okay. Members, any other comments at this point? Okay, well, we're going to note and file this report. Look forward to the next update, and always invite you to engage the council offices in your outreach efforts, because we do know a little bit about the communities that we serve, and we want to be with you all the way.
And thank you for always being accessible and responsive. I
Absolutely.
want to just preface that, that we appreciate it. We still just got work to do.
And we want to help you do it.
Absolutely.
All right.
We're here to do it.
All right. Okay, we'll note and file that item. Mr. Clerk, what else is before us at this time?
That closes the desk, Mr. Chair.
Okay, well, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.